But that's the way I felt because we were working, happy, an actor who, it's just amazing. And this is like a spin-off.
For years, fans enjoyed the laughter, drama, and unforgettable moments on The Jeffersons. But behind the scenes, there were surprising stories most people never knew. From hidden passions to shocking off-screen events, the cast carried secrets that still amaze viewers today. So, how much do you really know about the stars of this classic sitcom? Stay with us as we uncover the most surprising truths about the Jeffersons cast you never figured out. The private Sherman Hemsley, who was nothing like George Jefferson. When most people think about the Jeffersons, the very first image that comes to mind is George Jefferson strutting across the screen with his chest out, his voice raised, and his attitude larger than life. George was loud, confident, and sometimes even abrasive, but that was exactly what made him so entertaining. The character became so popular that many fans assumed Sherman Hemsley, the actor who played him, must have been the same way in real life. Yet, in truth, Sherman was the complete opposite. And the contrast between who he was and who George was is one of the most surprising parts of his story. Sherman was known for being quiet, soft-spoken, and even shy. He did not enjoy the spotlight once the cameras stopped rolling.
George Jefferson moving on up. It's been 50 years since the Jeffersons first hit American television screens.
And he preferred to live a peaceful life rather than chase fame. While George was always ready to argue and show off, Sherman valued calm moments, close friendships, and a private lifestyle. He often described himself as a homebody, and he meant it. He was never the kind of actor who loved red carpets or big parties because he found more joy in simply staying home with his music and his thoughts. His private nature often left fans confused because they couldn't separate the actor from the role. They believed George Jefferson was Sherman Hemsley, and that belief followed him throughout his career. However, those who truly knew him described him as spiritual, thoughtful, and far more gentle than the tough businessman he played on television. Sherman's privacy also extended to his personal relationships, and this led to one of the most hidden aspects of his life. He never married, and he never had children. For years, there had been quiet speculation about his but Sherman never addressed it publicly. Only his closest friends and some insiders in the industry knew the truth about the rumor that he was a gay man. He never made it an announcement, and he never treated it like something to hide in shame. But he simply believed that it was personal. For Sherman, acting was for the world, but his private life was his own. This level of privacy was something he kept his entire life. As he grew older, he lived more and more reclusively, keeping his circle very small. When he passed away in 2012,
and now we have a passing to note about someone who changed cultural history in this country. Sherman Hemsley has died at the age of 74.
Many fans were shocked to learn about the private details of his life that had never been discussed before. There was even a legal battle over his will, which revealed some of the people who had been closest to him. The fact that the man who portrayed such a macho, and at times even homophobic character, was in truth a gay man, added a poignant twist to his legacy, showing just how powerfully he had carried a role that was nothing like who he really was. However, Sherman was not only about acting, because there was another side of him that brought out his true personality, and that was his love for music. Long before he became George Jefferson, Sherman had been passionate about funk and jazz. He played the keyboard, he sang, and he poured his creativity into music whenever he had the chance. In 1989, he released a single called Ain't That a Kick in the Head, and in 1992, he released an entire R&B album titled Dance. He even performed on Soul Train, showing a different side of himself that fans rarely got to see. While his music never reached the level of fame that his acting did, it was more personal to him because it allowed him to express who he truly was. Acting may have made him famous, but music made him feel free. When you put all these parts of his life together, you get a picture of a man who was nothing like the character he played, but who gave the world one of the most iconic roles in television history. George Jefferson was loud, proud, and often ready for a fight, but Sherman Hemsley was private, gentle, and content to stay out of the spotlight. That contrast might just be the greatest secret of his career, because fans thought they knew him. But in truth, they only knew George. And just when you think you know the story of the Jeffersons, another cast member's journey shows us something even more inspiring. So, keep watching, because the next one will truly surprise you. Isabelle Sanford's incredible journey. While Sherman's story is about surprising contrasts, Isabelle Sanford's story is about patience, perseverance, and triumph later in life. To the world, she will always be remembered as Louise "Wheezy" Jefferson, the strong and loving wife who balanced George's bluster with calm wisdom. Their chemistry on screen made them one of television's most beloved couples. But Isabelle's journey to that role was far from easy. Before she ever became famous, Isabelle faced challenges that could have easily pushed her away from acting altogether. Her mother wanted her to choose a stable career, something that would guarantee her a living and not rely on unpredictable dreams. However, Isabelle had a quiet passion for performing, and she refused to let it go. She worked as a key punch operator at IBM during the day, and at night, she chased her dream by acting in off-Broadway productions and with Harlem's American Negro Theater. This meant she was balancing a steady job while secretly building her talent, showing just how determined she was to keep her passion alive. Her dedication eventually paid off, but not right away, because Isabelle was what many would call a late bloomer in Hollywood.
Aw, gee, I used the last of mine when the astronauts rode down Fifth Avenue.
She did not land the role of Louise Jefferson until she was 58 years old, and in an industry that often places the highest value on youth. Her story is remarkable. Her success proved that talent and persistence have no age limit, and it became one of the most inspiring examples of how patience and perseverance can pay off. And Isabelle did not just play a beloved role, because she also made history in the process. In 1981, she became the first black actress to win the Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series.
And I want to thank my family, my children, and my friends, and the Academy. Thank you.
At that time, she was the only black woman ever to have achieved this honor, and her victory broke a major barrier for representation in television. That Emmy was more than just a trophy on her shelf, because it was a symbol of what she had accomplished not only for herself, but also for every aspiring actor who came after her. And here's another interesting cast who didn't start from Hollywood. Marla Gibbs's secret life before the Jeffersons. When people remember the Jeffersons, another character that comes to mind is Florence Johnston,
My character's name on the Jefferson was Florence.
the housekeeper with the sharp tongue and quick wit who never let George Jefferson get away with anything. Florence's sarcasm and clever comebacks became some of the funniest moments on the show, and her chemistry with Sherman Hemsley was so natural that audiences could not get enough of it. Yet behind that humor was Marla Gibbs, a woman whose journey to fame was anything but ordinary because she did not start out in Hollywood at all. Before becoming a star, Marla worked for United Airlines as a reservations agent. She was a single mother, and her life was full of responsibilities, but she still carried a dream that many people would have called unrealistic. She wanted to act, and so in her spare time, she took acting classes. It was not easy because she had to balance work, parenting, and her own passion. And just like Isabelle, Marla never gave up. Her early life shows us that success did not come overnight. It came after years of balancing reality with ambition, and she was prepared to return to her airline job if acting had not worked out. Her persistence eventually paid off, but even then, it did not happen in the way she first expected. When she was cast as Florence Johnston, the role was not meant to be a big one. Florence was supposed to appear in just a few episodes as the Jeffersons' housekeeper. However, Marla's natural comedic timing and the way she played off Sherman Hemsley made the character far more popular than the producers had ever imagined. Fans loved Florence's quick remarks and her ability to stand up to George in a way that few characters could, and her presence quickly became one of the highlights of the show. Because of this overwhelming popularity, Marla's role was expanded, and she became a full-time cast member. The back-and-forth exchanges between George and Florence turned into one of the show's most beloved dynamics. And what started as a small part quickly turned into one of the most important roles, proving that sometimes the best things happen when you least expect them. Her success on The Jeffersons even led to her own spin-off, Checking In 1981. The show focused on Florence taking a job as a hotel housekeeper. While it only lasted 4 episodes, the fact that the network was willing to give Florence her own series speaks volumes about how much audiences loved Marla Gibbs and her character. When the spin-off ended, Florence returned to The Jeffersons, and her storyline continued as though nothing had changed, which fans appreciated. Marla's career is another reminder that persistence and patience matter. She started as a working mother with a day job and a faraway dream, and she became a household name by staying true to her talent and never losing her determination. And if you think Marla's journey is impressive, wait until you see how another part of The Jeffersons broke barriers that no sitcom had dared to break before. Roxy Roker and Franklin Cover, the couple who broke TV barriers. While George and Louise Jefferson captured the spotlight as the central couple, the Willis family brought something equally important to television. Helen Willis, played by Roxy Roker, and Tom Willis, played by Franklin Cover, were television's first regular interracial married couple. This was groundbreaking because in the 1970s, interracial relationships were still a sensitive subject for much of America, and they were rarely shown on television. By placing Helen and Tom in the heart of the storyline, the Jeffersons broke barriers and pushed viewers to see what love looked like beyond race. The presence of the Willises helped to normalize interracial relationships for millions of viewers. They were not presented as a shocking or temporary twist, but as a normal couple living next door to the Jeffersons. Their characters had the same ups and downs as any other marriage on the show, and that made them relatable and real. What made the story even more powerful was that Roxy Roker herself was married to a white man in real life, television producer Cy Kravitz. Together they had a son, Lenny Kravitz, who became one of the most famous musicians in the world. Because Roxy's personal life mirrored her on-screen character, her performance carried a level of authenticity that could not be faked. She knew firsthand what it meant to be in an interracial relationship, and she used that experience to bring depth and sincerity to her role. Franklin Cover also played an important part, because as a white actor portraying the husband in this groundbreaking marriage, he had to navigate sensitive territory with respect. Together, Roxy and Franklin made the Willis family believable and likable, and their presence on television challenged deeply held taboos of the time. The two actors who played Lionel Jefferson. Another fascinating detail about the Jeffersons that many fans never noticed was the fact that Lionel Jefferson, the son of George and Louise, was played by 2 different actors. Mike Evans was the original Lionel, and later Damon Evans stepped into the role. Despite sharing the same last name, they were not related, which often confused viewers who were paying close attention. Mike Evans was more than just an actor, though. He was also a talented writer and creator. After the first season of The Jeffersons, he decided to leave the show to focus on writing. This was not a small gamble, but it paid off because he went on to co-create the hit sitcom Good Times. Many viewers never realized that the man who first brought Lionel Jefferson to life was also behind one of the most important shows in Black television history. His ambition proved that he was not only comfortable in front of the camera, but also highly skilled behind it. When Damon Evans stepped into the role of Lionel, he brought with him a completely different background. Damon was a classically trained opera singer who had a passion for music and theater. While he did well in the role of Lionel, his heart remained in opera, and after leaving the show, he pursued a career on Broadway and in classical productions. His journey from a popular sitcom to the world of opera is one of the most unique stories among the cast, because it shows how actors can take completely different paths once the cameras stop rolling. Eventually, Mike Evans returned to reprise the role of Lionel, giving fans a sense of continuity, even though the shifting faces had already made the character one of the most unusual examples of recasting in sitcom history. And just when you think this is surprising, wait until you hear what was really going on with George and Louise's quirky neighbor, Paul Benedict, the American neighbor's secret struggle. Harry Bentley was one of those characters who could make audiences laugh with his strange behavior and his polite but awkward relationship with George. He was a neighbor unlike any other, and his British accent made him even more memorable. The funny thing is that Paul Benedict, the actor who played him, was not British at all. He was an American born in New Mexico, but he perfected his English accent so well that most fans had no idea it was an act. His ability to pull it off convincingly is a real testament to his skill as an actor, because playing comedy is hard enough, but playing comedy while putting on a flawless accent is even harder. What makes Paul Benedict's story even more inspiring is that he achieved all of this while quietly living with a rare medical condition called acromegaly. Acromegaly is a hormonal disorder that often causes the bones in the face, hands, and feet to enlarge. Paul was diagnosed when he was young, and while he received treatment, the condition permanently affected his appearance. For many people, such a diagnosis would have been devastating, especially in an industry as focused on looks as television. But Benedict refused to let it hold him back. Instead of hiding from his condition, he leaned into it. He embraced the way he looked and turned it into part of his comedic style. Audiences laughed at Harry Bentley's quirks, but behind those laughs was an actor who had learned how to turn a personal challenge into something that made people happy. That takes resilience, and it shows how determination can turn what some might call a setback into a strength. Benedict's role as Harry Bentley proved that you did not have to fit the traditional mold to make a lasting impact on television. He stood out because he was different, and rather than trying to hide it, he allowed those differences to become his superpower. Fans may have loved him for the laughs, but his real legacy is in the courage he showed by using his uniqueness to inspire others. Berlinda Tolbert and Zara Cully, the supporting pillars. While George, Louise, and Florence often grabbed the spotlight, the Jeffersons would not have been the same without the supporting characters who added strength to the family's story. Berlinda Tolbert and Zara Cully may not have been the biggest stars of the show, but their presence added heart, balance, and even history to the sitcom in ways that fans deeply appreciated. Berlinda Tolbert played Jenny Willis Jefferson, the daughter of Helen and Tom Willis, and the wife of Lionel. Her character was crucial because she represented the next generation of the groundbreaking interracial marriage that made the Willises so significant. Jenny helped to carry that storyline forward, showing viewers how an interracial couple could build a future together with love and commitment. Even though she was not always in the spotlight, Berlinda's steady performance gave the show consistency. Off-screen, her personal life also reflected her strong values. She chose to step back from acting to care for her aging parents, a choice that speaks volumes about who she was as a person. In a world where fame often drives people to put themselves first, Berlinda showed that family came before everything else. That quiet act of devotion is one of the most touching parts of her story, and it shows that real character often shines brightest when the cameras are off. Then there was Zara Cully, who played George's mother, Olivia Mother Jefferson. Zara's story is remarkable because she did not become a television star until she was 82 years old. At an age when most people were slowing down or retiring, she was just beginning a new chapter in her career. Her sharp tongue, strong personality, and hilarious interactions with George made her unforgettable, and she proved that talent has no expiration date. Sadly, Zara passed away in 1978 during the run of the show, but the way the Jeffersons handled her passing is worth remembering. Instead of simply ignoring the loss, the writers made the bold choice to address it on screen. The characters mourned Mother Jefferson's death in the storyline, giving the audience a heartfelt goodbye to both the character and the actress. This decision added a layer of realism to the show and showed the deep respect the cast and crew had for Zara Cully. It is rare for sitcoms to take that approach, but The Jeffersons was never afraid to be different. And while Berlinda and Zara showed how even supporting roles can leave a lasting mark, the truth is none of these stories would have existed without one man's fearless vision behind the scenes, Norman Lear's vision, and the show's abrupt end. If there was one person who tied all these incredible stories together, it was Norman Lear, the creator of The Jeffersons. Lear had already proven with shows like All in the Family that he was unafraid to tackle bold and sensitive topics, and he brought the same courage to The Jeffersons. Unlike many sitcoms of the time that stuck to safe, light-hearted humor, The Jeffersons pushed boundaries. It tackled issues like racism, alcoholism, and illiteracy, and it even included a storyline involving the Ku Klux Klan. Norman Lear understood that comedy could be more than just entertainment. It could also be a mirror held up to society, forcing people to confront uncomfortable truths while still laughing along the way. This daring approach made the show stand out. For many viewers, The Jeffersons was not just funny, it was thought-provoking. It opened doors to conversations that many families might not have had otherwise. And that is part of why the show became such an important piece of television history. Yet for all its success and cultural importance, the ending of The Jeffersons was handled in a way that shocked both the cast and the fans. After 11 seasons, CBS canceled the show without warning. And worst of all, without giving it a proper finale. The actors were not even told directly. Instead, some of them, including Sherman Hemsley and Isabelle Sanford, only learned about the cancellation by reading the newspaper. For a show that had given so much to television, this abrupt ending felt disrespectful and unfair. The characters who had become part of people's lives for over a decade never received the farewell they deserved, and the cast never got the chance to close the chapter properly. It was a harsh reminder of how unpredictable and sometimes cruel the entertainment industry can be, even to the most successful and beloved shows. But even though the ending was unceremonious, the legacy of The Jeffersons lives on. The show opened doors, broke barriers, and left behind unforgettable performances. From George and Louise to Florence, the Willises, Lionel, Bentley, Jenny, and Mother Jefferson, each character brought something special that made the show timeless. And at the heart of it all was Norman Lear's vision of using comedy, not just to entertain, but also to make people think, laugh, and grow. So, which of these hidden details about The Jeffersons surprised you the most? And do you think shows today will ever have the same lasting impact as The Jeffersons? Drop it in the comment section below. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more. Also, click the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.